Let's transport ourselves back to the blistering depths of February 1955. The air was so bitterly cold that it shattered windows with its icy breath, a phenomenon rare and startling. Gardens became mere memories beneath blankets of snow so profound they hid the very gates that once welcomed visitors. The temperatures plunged with such ferocity that they carved new entries into the meteorological archives, leaving a chilling legacy. It was on a particularly bleak January afternoon when darkness descended prematurely over London. The sky turned a foreboding hue, leading thousands to reach out to emergency services with alarming calls, gripped by a fear that the world's end might be nigh. This wasn't just an ordinary winter chill. This was a formidable challenge, a dual siege of winter ferocity that gripped Britain with relentless force. It tested the resilience and endurance of every individual, fraying the bonds of community, and demanding a measure of perseverance synonymous with the British spirit. From the nascent days of January stretching to the battle-worn Ides of March, survival became an unyielding fight against an unseen adversary, an enemy forged from biting cold, relentless snowfalls, and a creeping chill that embedded itself deep within one's very marrow. The winter stretching from 1955 to 1956, though not the longest in British annals, earned its place as one of the most savage. Those who endured its icy grasp would carry the reminder etched in their memories, a testament to their survival. As the year turned into 1955, the first week of January heralded the arrival of an Arctic front from the north, an icy harbinger dusting the capital with 15 centimeters of snow, a sight unseen since 1947. Optimism lingered briefly, with hopes of a fleeting discomfort, but the nation soon realized the reality was different. The freeze gripped the country fiercely throughout January and then, with hardly a pause, redoubled its icy grip in early February. A landmark moment unfolded on February 23, 1955, in Braemar, a stoic village nestled in the Scottish Highlands. The mercury plunged to a bone-chilling -25°C, the coldest measurement in Britain since 1895, a full 6 decades. Across Scotland, a wintry white blanket, 2 feet thick, adorned the north, and near Elgin, the snow's embrace deepened to 3 feet. In the northernmost reaches and the islands, it went beyond, with snowdrifts towering as high as 30 feet, leaving entire villages entombed beneath walls of white. In response to this severe isolation, the RAF initiated Operation Snowdrop, dropping vital supplies to those stranded and cut off from the world, now prisoners in their own homes. Meanwhile, in southern realms, even Buxton was not spared, as it too recorded 2 feet of unyielding snow. Roads disappeared beneath white blankets, railways turned rigid with frost, and a Britain still on the mend from wartime wounds found itself embroiled in a fresh conflict against the fury of nature. February remained unforgiving. On that same historic day Braemar reached its icy milestone, Cornwall experienced an unheard of 16-hour deluge of snowfall, transforming its typically mild landscape into a scene reminiscent of the Scottish Highlands themselves. No corner of Britain was exempt from winter's harsh decree. Indoors, survival became a relentless trial. Homes in 1955 were largely devoid of central heating, leaving families reliant on the feeble warmth of a solitary coal fire, usually confined to the living room. There, surrounded by its meager heat, families clung together, striving to fend off the cold that turned the remainder of their homes into frozen sanctuaries. Sleep brought its own brand of chill, as breath crystallized in the air and ice adorned the inside of window panes, transforming them into frosty frescoes that obscured the view beyond. Coal was a lifeline, the barrier between warmth and bone-deep chill. Yet, the harsh weather stalled coal deliveries. Trucks found themselves thwarted by the immovable snow, while coal sat inert and dominated by ice at the depots. In this desperate dance against the cold, families turned to burning whatever was at hand: heels of old newspapers, remnants of broken furniture, anything that offered a flicker of warmth. The pervasive smell of coal smoke lingered heavily in every street corner and alleyway, serving as a constant, tangible reminder that survival hinged on keeping fires burning at all times. It was a testament to the lengths people had to go to endure the biting winter. Inside modest homes, mothers meticulously warmed bottles of milk by placing them in pans of hot water, a laborious yet necessary task to ensure their children had warm nourishment. Meanwhile, children eagerly scraped layers of ice off their bedroom windows, straining for a glimpse of the dim, grey daylight that struggled to break through storm-heavy clouds. Fathers, meanwhile, faced an arduous battle with the unrelenting elements, wrapping themselves in every piece of clothing they owned before venturing outdoors. They would painstakingly clear pathways choked with snow, fully aware that by the end of the day, nature would erase their hard work with another thick blanket of white. In this landscape, there were no shortcuts, No miraculous solutions to fend off the winter's assault. You simply dug in your heels and endured its harshness day by day. Contrary to what one might hope, the season wasn't merely cold, it was obstinately relentless. The frigid grip of January would momentarily loosen, teasing with patches of warmer days, only for February to sweep in with renewed ferocity, dragging temperatures back down to their icy lows. For farmers, the situation was particularly dire, as they helplessly watched the frozen ground hold their livelihoods hostage. The earth hardened to stone, making it utterly impossible to harvest once bountiful fields of vegetables. Root crops, essential for sustenance, remained entombed beneath the surface, inaccessible and untouchable. In some regions, desperate efforts to salvage the situation led people to deploy heavy machinery, hoping to extricate potatoes from their frozen imprisonment. Yet the frost proved devastating, annihilating thousands of tons of crops, the very sustenance meant for families, left to rot at the mercy of the unyielding cold. For the elderly and those in fragile health, this winter's harshness was not just uncomfortable but perilous. Hypothermia loomed as a very real and serious threat, transforming the season into a gauntlet for survival where each day was a fight against the encroaching chill that threatened to claim lives. Doctors braved the harsh winter, making house calls through drifts of snow that reached up to their waists. They trudged along with their medical bags, the leather stiff and half frozen, as they pushed through, trying to reach patients who were too ill or too snowbound to reach out themselves. The hospitals were overflowing with individuals afflicted by the relentless cold. Pneumonia spread like wildfire among communities already weakened by years of post-war struggles. Yet, despite these challenges, Britain soldiered on with an indomitable spirit. Complaining wasn't an option. Waiting for a solution wasn't part of the mindset. People simply persevered. However, on January 16th, an extraordinary and unsettling phenomenon occurred in London. At 1:15 in the afternoon, the city was plunged into an eerie darkness. The pollution from countless coal fires met a cold front, forming an impenetrable smog layer 4,000 feet thick. The sunlight, reduced to a ghostly shadow of its normal strength, gave the impression that the world was on the brink of apocalypse. Alarmed, people flooded emergency services with calls, truly fearing that the end was nigh. The city remained shrouded in this unsettling gloom for hours, a chilling testament to the severity of that winter. As the streets became impassable and vehicles found themselves buried under heaps of snow, public transport ground to a halt. Buses ceased their routes, leaving walking as the sole option. People traversed miles through deep drifts and a wind that sliced like shards of glass, in hopes of finding shops that might have already shuttered their doors. This period was marked by an incredible resolve. Postal workers continued their rounds, persevering through knee-deep snow because the mail simply had to be delivered. It was a blend of tradition, stubbornness, and pride that kept them going. But the winter of 1955-56 wasn't just a tale of survival, it was also one of community. As the temperatures plummeted to unbearable lows, neighbors who had barely exchanged a greeting before found themselves knocking on each other's doors. They shared precious resources, coal, blankets, and whatever food they could spare. Strangers assisted one another in pushing cars out of snowdrifts, and families welcomed those who had lost their heat into their homes. In church halls and community centers, people gathered not merely for warmth, but for companionship. Strangers became friends over shared stories, card games, and cups of tea that seemed to taste better simply because someone else had brewed them. The extreme cold stripped away the reserved British demeanor. Pride became a luxury few could afford when everyone was struggling. Surprisingly, there was laughter and humor amid the adversity, characterized by a dark wit that only the British could muster. There were jokes about penguins on Piccadilly and snowmen applying for ration cards. True to form, the BBC reported the snow with measured understatement, advising travellers to take care due to the heavy snowfall with no hint of panic or drama, just a quiet acknowledgement of the situation. It was dreadful, but manageable. For children, it was a magical time. With schools closing frequently, the frozen landscape became one vast playground. Makeshift sledges crafted from tea trays and baking sheets zipped down every available hill. Snowball fights raged on for hours, with children returning home drenched, frozen, yet beaming with joy. Parents fretted more about drying the laundry than about safety helmets. Wool socks would steam by the fire, gloves would dry stiff with ice, and the following day would see the children back outside, constructing towering snowmen that dwarfed even the tallest adults. Ask anyone who was a child during that unforgettable winter, and they'll vividly recount how magical it was, describing it as the best winter of their young lives. For children, the deep snow was not a burden but an immense playground. where each frosty morning promised new adventures and the freedom to explore a winter wonderland. Come mid-March 1955, the relentless cold that had gripped the country began to ease its hold. At long last, roads started to emerge from beneath their icy coverings, and rhythmic drips of melting snow fell from rooftops, signaling a slow yet hopeful thaw. The return of delivery trucks was a momentous occasion. These vehicles were greeted with the enthusiasm usually reserved for returning heroes. With Britain exhausted, frostbite numbed, and layered with the grime of soot, the nation took its first breath of relief in weeks. It was a small triumph when milk arrived unfrozen for the first time in seemingly endless days, prompting people to cheer heartily, celebrating the simple but profound return of normalcy. As postal deliveries resumed and water pipes succumbed one final time to the ice, Britain inched back towards its regular pace of life. However, the effects of this harsh winter were visible everywhere. Scars of the season lay across the land and its people. Farms faced devastating losses of livestock and crops, businesses endured weeks of closure, and the financial and emotional toll weighed heavily. Yet amidst such trials, a rugged sense of pride began to blossom, a quiet acknowledgement of resilience. The winter of 1955 to 1956 had challenged Britain, but it had not broken the spirits of its people. It left behind not only memories of hardship, but also lessons in endurance and strength that went far beyond merely enduring the cold weather. When everything came to a standstill, supplies dwindled, and it seemed as if the relentless cold would stretch on indefinitely, people refused to succumb to despair. They took care of one another, ensuring that fires continued to crackle warmly in hearths. Standing side by side, they persevered. There were no smartphones to casually glance at for weather forecasts, no central heating to provide constant warmth, nor any delivery apps to effortlessly bring food to your doorstep. What they had was neighbors, a tight-knit community, and an unyielding spirit that refused to be defeated by mere months of ice and snow. The conditions were far from comfortable, the challenges daunting, yet the experience etched itself into memory, unforgettable, because the winter that nearly encased Britain in ice also highlighted what truly mattered most. It was not the manufactured warmth from radiators, but the genuine warmth shared among people. It wasn't the pursuit of personal comfort, but the display of inherent character. It wasn't about surviving as isolated individuals. It was about surviving as a unified whole. The frost-riddled winter of 1956 still lives on in stories to this day, not solely due to the unprecedented low temperatures or the heavy snow that enveloped entire villages. It is remembered for what it unveiled about the heart of Britain, a nation bruised by the ravages of war and amidst the challenging process of rebuilding, yet retaining something unbreakable at its core. It was a quiet yet fierce determination that no amount of harsh, biting ice could ever extinguish. Were you a witness to that remarkable winter? Do you recollect the biting cold, the blankets of snow, or the profound sense of community that brought everyone together? Leave a comment below and share your story, your piece of this enduring narrative.